Have you ever stopped to wonder what's actually going on behind the screen of your favorite apps? It turns out there's this kind of secret language, a hidden engine that makes everything work, from tracking your high score in a game to figuring out what playlist to show you on Spotify. Well, today, we're going to unlock its secrets. I mean, really think about it. How does an app just know your exact score, down to the last point? Or sort your music perfectly by year? Or even figure out how many days are left until a deadline? It honestly feels a bit like magic, doesn't it? But it's not. It's actually a set of incredibly powerful but simple tools. So what's the answer? It all comes down to something called SQL functions. And the best way to think about them is like a secret toolkit for dealing with data. These are just pre-built commands that act like specialized tools. Some are like little calculators, others are like word processors, and some, believe it or not, are basically tiny time machines. They do all the heavy lifting so your apps can give you the information you need instantly. Okay, so let's actually dive into this toolkit. We're going to pop open the box and take a look at the three main trays of tools that developers use literally every single day. We've got tools for numbers, tools for text, and of course, tools for time. First up, let's talk about the numeric functions. This is basically your digital math kit. Imagine a super-powered calculator that's built right into the database. Anytime an app needs to deal with numbers, prices, scores, measurements, anything like that, these are the go-to tools for the job. So, inside this math kit, you've got tools like round, which is perfect for cleaning up messy decimal points, turning something like 9.999 into a nice clean 10. You've got pow, which handles exponents, maybe for calculating growth or interest. SQRT finds the square root, and ABS gives you the absolute value, which is awesome for figuring out the distance between two things, no matter which direction you're headed. Each one has a very specific and very useful job. And just look how simple this makes things. So instead of dealing with a weird number like 16.25 that came from some calculation, an app can just use round to say, hey, just keep one decimal place, and you get a clean 16.3. It's all about making information precise and easy to read. And here's another super quick one. With pow, you just give it a number and a power. In this case, we're saying 2 to the power of 3. And boom, it instantly calculates the result, 8. So simple, so fast, and incredibly powerful for any kind of complex math in the background. All right, let's move on to our next tray of tools. This one is like the ultimate word processor, and it's packed with what we call string functions. So if numeric functions were for numbers, well, string functions are all about text, usernames, song titles, comments, you name it. Think of it like find and replace on steroids. These tools are absolutely essential for managing all the text that's flying around in our digital world. Concat lets you join words together. Replace can swap one word for another. Substring lets you grab just a little piece of a word or sentence. And trim, well, trim is awesome for cleaning up those accidental extra spaces that people type into forms. Here's a perfect example of how Substring works its magic. Let's say you give it the word boomerang. Then you tell it, okay, start at the very first letter and then just grab 4 characters from there. And what's the result? It pulls out just the word boom. This is exactly how an app can show you just your initials or maybe a short preview of a long message. And here's a classic you've seen a million times. You have 2 separate pieces of text, Super and Mario. The concat function just sticks them together, like glue, to create one seamless string, Super Mario. It's totally fundamental to how apps build things like full names, titles, and all sorts of messages. All right, time for our final set of tools. For this one, we're opening up the time machine. These are the date and time functions, and they are absolutely essential for anything that happens on a schedule, which, let's be real, is pretty much everything in our lives. These tools help us understand and play with time. We can pull out just the year from a full date. We can use cur-date to just grab today's date, or we can do some really cool stuff like calculating the difference between 2 dates or 2 times with date diff and time diff. This is the secret logic behind every birthday reminder, every countdown timer, and every project deadline you've ever seen. And look how clean this is, right? The database might be storing a full, super specific date, but maybe your app only needs to show the year a movie came out. Well, you just use the year function, and it plucks that one single piece of information right out for you. It's that easy. And that really gets to the heart of it all. This isn't just about abstract data. It's about making sense of our own lives. These functions let us organize our world by analyzing and comparing real-world time, everything from our school assignments and birthdays to our schedules and big events. So we've filled our toolkit with all these awesome tools for math, text, and time. But here's where the real magic happens. It's when you start using them all together. This is where you go from just having a bunch of tools to becoming a master builder. Now, with this complete toolkit, you can answer much more complex questions. For instance, you could combine date functions to calculate exactly how much time passed between two historical events. You could use a numeric function to find an average score, and then use another one to round it off neatly. Or you could use a string function to pull a clean username out of some really messy text. See? You're no longer limited to just one simple task at a time. And that brings us to a final thought for you. Now that you know what's inside this secret toolkit, think about your favorite app. Could be TikTok, Spotify, your favorite game, whatever. Which of these tools, the math kit, the word processor, or the time machine, do you think would be the most important one for making that app actually work? It's a pretty cool way to see just how deep this stuff goes and how it's quietly running pretty much everything we do.